Dave Smith in Berlin, Superbooth. How are you finding it?
I'm having a blast, as always.
It's a crazy building, this, isn't it? It really
This is a really cool building. It's every room is unique. It's different. High ceilings, just lots of personality in this place.
Absolutely. So you made the trip over, and I noticed there's a little addition in your little rack of modules over here, which is something new, right?
Very little different. That's our new feedback module that we are just announcing. Basically what we took is the feedback feature from the, what was originally put in the Evolver. It's a tuned feedback. In fact, well, it's right here also. We have it on the Pro 2. It's on the Prophet 12. The idea is you have a tuned feedback loop that takes the audio output, runs it back through the analog filter, and then through a delay line.
Just like a very tight tune.
Yeah,
delay.
very tight tuning. So you could do Karplus Stong synthesis with it, if you know what that is. Or you could just use it for mangling sound and playing around with things. It's just always been one of the best features, I think, in the Evolver and a couple of the other synths. So we've had a lot of requests to just pop it out into a module so you can do anything you want with it now.
That's interesting. Karplus Stong is not a synthesis technique that you hear about, but it's not something that is too mainstream. So.
No, it's a very unique sound. It's there's no Karplus Stong instruments because it doesn't have the widest palette. It's got its own sound, which is really cool, but it doesn't do a whole lot of other things. So that's why it sort of makes sense to put it in a module. Because that's what modules are good for.
And so are you able to CV control it so you can get pitch stuff?
Yeah, we have 4 CV inputs. We have control for the feedback amount, for the feedback tuning, and then we have, of course, a low-pass filter, so you can control the frequency and the resonance of that. There's also a gate end that triggers a noise source and an envelope of the noise source, so you could use that to generate the sound for the Karplus Stong.
So to generate an impulse to kind of drive it.
So the impulse is built in. So you could either, like if I just want to run audio through it, then it's just a matter of... So it's the familiar tune feedback sound. It'll just do weird things at different times. I can control it with external control voltages.
So what's the delay range on it? I mean, I guess there's no need to put something long in there, is there?
No, it's not super long. It's I think we've got 4 or 5 octaves of range, so you can play it from a keyboard if you wanted to.
So in terms of delay time, that would be
whatever,
down to hertz,
divide out, do the math.
So 0 hertz up to, I guess, 880 or 1K.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
yeah,
right,
so they're fairly short delays, but you can, at the lower notes, you actually can hear the delay and get some interesting things happening.
And this is a prototype, right? But it's
yes, we just kind of threw it together last week. So
just threw it.
It's kind of new, so we don't have a ship date yet or a price, but we just thought it'd be, since we were coming to a synth show, we had to have something to show, and this is kind of a modular show also, so it made sense to bring it out.
So how are the new babies going? Because I mean, I imagine you must be like working like elves back at the factory trying to get these out.
Business is awesome right now. I mean, first with the last year we grew like 35% or something, just because of the Pro 2 and the Prophet 12 were already out, and then we added the Prophet 6, which has been just incredible. And then the reception to the OB6 has just been off the charts also. We started shipping, I guess we're still in March, so we started at the beginning of March. So we've been shipping about 4 weeks now, and we've got a long ways to go before we catch up because there's a huge demand. People I was surprised actually how many people were just waiting to get that Oberheim poly sound back.
It is, when you hear it, it's that sound, you recognize it instantly, don't you? That's
the thing. You know what, it's funny because when we first started working on it, I was sort of worried that maybe when it came out, everybody'd say, oh, it's just another nice poly synth, but when we showed it at NAMM, it was clear. People would play 3 notes on it and they'd go, Oberheim. Yeah. This is an Oberheim.
I'm John Carpenter, and this is Escape from New York.
Yeah, it's just like they identified it, and it's just like it's 1979 again. Back then, everybody was either a Prophet guy or an Oberheim guy. I have a Prophet, I have an Oberheim. It's just like that now. People gravitate towards one or the other because they like the Oberheim sound or they like the Prophet sound. So it's kind of fun to have the choice again.
And obviously one question that people are going to be asking, because you did the Prophet 12 desktop, there's a Prophet 6 desktop possibly at a Pro.
Oh yeah, we are doing a OB6 desktop. We don't have a date, later this year sometime, but clearly we have to do it.
Is that challenging to get the sheer amount of electronics into that form factor, or is it okay?
No, it's not too bad. The only trade-off is it can't be rack mountable, but that's not a big deal because it's silly to buy a knobby synth and put it in the rack.
Is that a heat consideration, or is
No,
that
no, it's just size. We could make it rack mountable, but then it'd be 800 rack spaces or whatever, so it just kind of gets silly after a while. So we just decided, as we did with the Prophet 6 module, to put all the knobs on it so 100% of the control is there, because that's what people really want, and not worry about the rack mountable part of it.
And I've always wanted to ask you this about it, because you are one of the earlier adopters of the sort of classic synth manufacturers who's used digital control of the analog electronics. Is that a still very exciting part? Do you think there's a lot more to explore there? I mean, or do you think it might move more digital or more analog? How do you see it panning out?
I think digital controls analog is the perfect match, because you get the sound is 100% analog, signal path 100%, but you can do anything you want from the control side and modulation side because it's digital. So there's no trade-offs really at all in doing it that way. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, no, I'm curious as to how much more there is to explore in that interface.
There's no shortage. I mean, we've got new products in the works. No, there's plenty that hasn't been done yet, I think.
And I guess the advantage of that as well is it means that programmability and recall is easy peasy, I guess, because you're recording.
It's just noisy in here.
Recall and programmability make it much more straightforward if you're dealing with digital control.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's, starting from the Prophet 5, we're really doing everything the same way that I did it then, and you have to design things a certain way. It's obviously harder to do technically than, that's why there's so many monophonic non-programmable synths. It's because it's easy to do and you don't have to match voices and you don't have to make programmability perfect. So it's a big step in technology to do this, but I've been doing it for 40 years, so it's pretty easy for us.
And I guess, obviously you're probably invited to a lot of these kind of shows, and as you walk around and see what's kind of where the innovation is, what areas are you finding exciting? Is there stuff that you've seen that people are going, oh, that's really...
Well, it's funny because the analog thing is still huge, and so everybody is kind of busy respinning their own versions of the same technology. But I actually think that analog basic subtractive synthesis has passed the test of time now. Everybody knows what a low-pass filter does. If they turn that knob, their ear and their mind knows what to expect. And it's been, 50 years? It's been around. We went through the digital dark ages there of 20 years where it disappeared a lot, but it's back and everybody knows what it sounds like, and it's just a great sound that people can relate to. There are a lot of synthesis methods that sound good, but you can't interact with them because your mind just doesn't connect with the mathematics behind the synthesis. So the great thing about analog subtractive is it's fairly simple, but has a wide palette of sounds, and it's easy to grok. I mean, you could just kind of get it.
Do you think, one thing that I'm starting to notice, there seems to be almost a fatigue of 4-pole resonant filter sound, which is great, but I think because many people who perhaps aren't advanced in synthesis, that's the filter is the kind of most modulatable sound source. So we're almost oversaturated with that particular sound. Do you think there's room for kind of more unusual and unique filter types that will kind of, I guess the OB6...
Well, but then you lose the interactivity usually, Then that's what I like. There's a low-pass frequency knob and a low-pass resonance knob, and you know what it's going to do. It's like saying, well, aren't people kind of getting tired of guitars by now? They still have 6 strings, they still kind of sound the same, and then they put the same, distortion pedals on it. Isn't it time for a new sound? Well, no, not really.
So do you think that the low pass and resonance is the kind of nub, the core of the analog sound?
That's a good way of putting it. It's the core, and that's what everybody relates to, and there's no reason for it to go away. Sure, we all get tired of the same sound if it's used the same, But if it's used well, and if it's part of the sound, but it doesn't have to be just the sweep. It's just there's a cool keyboard sound that happens to use the low pass. So no, it's pianos sound the same that they did 300 years ago, and they sure sound good now too. So.
I guess as a manufacturer, it's about creating the tools to allow people to find those sweet spots in between the sweep, as it were.
Well, exactly, and that's what's great about programmable synths is it's all laid out for you, and you step through the different sounds on one of our instruments, and the sounds are completely different. They're all using the same filter. And sure, some of them are going to go wow and sound like that because there are sounds that need to sound like that, but most of the sounds don't do that, but there'll be something going on, and that analog filter has that great fit in the mix sound to it, that other instruments don't have.
And I guess, with your instruments, with the chipset that kind of produces that specific kind of set of sounds, I guess, is there an issue with availability of components and stuff like that? Do you think there's a finite resource? Or?
Actually, now we, like in both the Prophet 6 and the OB6, the oscillators and filters are all discrete. There are no chips in them anymore because they don't exist in many cases. So, yeah, we could build these forever and that's one of the great things about modern electronics production methods is we can put on a small card with parts on both sides and using tiny parts, we could put an entire monophonic programmable synth on a little PC, on a little tiny card. So it doesn't matter if it's discrete. It's actually less expensive probably than using the old chips. So this technology in here is actually pre-Prophet 5 technology, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Okay.
But we can pull it off now.
So is there a challenge? Because obviously from going to Curtis and Sem chips, was it challenging to kind of go, well, we want to keep the sound of that, but doing it discreetly?
Well, of course there's a challenge, but one of the reasons we did that is we still use the Curtis chips in like the Prophet 12 and the Prophet 08. So the Curtis sound is great, and that's really good. We don't want to get rid of that, and we actually were trying to get a different sound, more of the old SSM early Prophet 5 sound for the Prophet 6. And of course the OB6 is the SEM filters and sound. So, we're not trying to take sides. In some ways the Curtis filters sound better and for some types of music, and other times the SSM type sound is better. They're just different,
I guess that's the thing also. I was talking about the kind of the sound of the low part, but is there much more that can be explored in the design of that basic kind of architecture in terms of the tinkering that you can do to the filter to kind of bring out certain characteristics? Is it endless, do you think, or is it?
There's endless variations, sure. As we see, everybody's got different filters, and even the same, it may be a ladder filter, but it may sound different in one instrument than another. There's variation. Sometimes it's more subtle. It's like I was saying earlier, I was surprised how different these two are. The SEM versus the Prophet oscillators and filters, and people pick up on it. So it's not some imaginary thing we're trying to market and pontificate that this is much different and much.
I guess I was thinking more from a design point of view, where you could go, how exciting those possibilities are, or whether it's like the kind of tinkering is so minuscule at this point because it's so set already.
No, well, an instrument is a lot more than just the specific filter. We're still selling Prophet 08s, we're still selling Prophet 12s, and we sell Prophet 6s and OB6s because they're all different instruments. Guitar players have no problem going out and buying 5 different guitars, sometimes exactly the same guitar, and because everyone to them has a different feel, a different personality. It's just about a musician interacting with the instrument, and that's what we try to do with our synths. Get away from the electronic aspect of it and have people treat it as a musical instrument. And that's why these two are a perfect case. You play them both, and which one pops up the ideas in your head.
Dave, thank you very much for talking to us.